Gérard.
Osopela fami na ngai mosolo atinda sheri na nga bomwana na kutu afutela ye na bakelasi mpona tikala ya ye moko na kini mboka ya bilombe.
Luciana Yemba
lelelelelelele lifonja mwana ya mama posho
kitoko na ngai ya bomwana
emebisinga ngambo lifonja bele bolala mono na kamwe oloposo mwinda maindombe esijera liboma ya bolingo papa lemisa
nzela ya mino na miso apongi
ekokisi ye boloko ya novel lifonja nyatata frere nazali mwana mpe mofude esanga nasakana lifonja pardon
kitoko na ngai ya bomwana
emebisinga ngambo lifonja bele bolala mono na kamwe loposo ya mwindo ya maindombe esijela liboma ya bolingo papa lemisa
nzela ya mino na miso apongi
ekotisi ye boloko ya novel lifonja nyata frere gera nanga mwana ya mama poso esanga tango nasakana lifonja pardon lifonja pardon
mbaki malauka ye
lifonja pardon nakangi motema lifonja pardon
Paul Muzalie
lifonja pardon
Nancy, Mama Afrika elombe ya mwasi Nairobi. Arriba, arriba, Nyboma. Ngo Amaduma Moro Maurice Madoka misapi ya wolo
kitoko na ngai ya bomwana
emebisinga ngambo lifonja bele bolala mono na kamwe loposo ya mwindo ya nzeta wenge esijela liboma ya bolingo papa lemisa
nzela ya mino na miso apongi mamina
ya boloko ya novel lifonja nyatata frere nazali mwana mpe mofude esanga tango nasakana lifonja pardon
kitoko na yo ya bomwana matena
emebisinga
loda
ngambo lifonja bele bolala mono na kamwe loposo ya mwindo ya maindombe esijela liboma ya bolingo papa lemisa
nzela ya mino na miso apongi ye
ekokisi ye boloko ya novel
ukuti ye
nyata frere papa gera nanga mwana mama poso nasakana lifonja pardon nasengi pardon nasakana moke
moziki lumière
nasengi
na bena
nasakana mwa moke
Sipi Umande la plume d'or
À tout à l'heure. Les grands spectacles avec... Ah, Nyboma.
Vous l'étiez.
Lokutana yo mabe mama basumu dupe kolinga moto ezali lisumu te mpona nino libenga boye yomba bayemba nalembi na koyenga likolo na yo tika ezombo bapesaka motema ndenge nini yomba dupe komelaka ata mikolo ya poso mama dupe duarte bezanga mwa beze litama na katwa dupe soki opesi ngai alale wana nakomi nesika nalingaka yo nabomba na motema nakoka te tika na bibisa mama na bomba na motema nakoka te tika na bibisa oka ileku
Jimmy Mukelenge ekwe moto pelenge
soki opesi ngai alale mama wana nakomi nesika nalingaka yo esalaka nga mpasi na motema mama na motema na molema yoma yaka kopesa nga beze litama yoma soki opesi ngai alale yoma wana nakomi nesika nalingaka yoma mama dupe yo matro dupe mama dupe yo matro dupe Merci beaucoup. motema sanduku ebomba nde makambo ebele mwana yo ngana yo kotongo na kofinga kanga eleki okende koboma ngepa ya bato okolukali wana nga mpona nini tobotama moto na moto netwale na ye boni bokomi koluka koteka moto na ngai boni bokomi koluka kosakana na kombo na ngai
Christian Mankou
ika fidel mpongo asala na ye banzambe nyonso bosisa kosambela bible na maboko mpe lokuta na monoko botika te mwana yo
tanga ya sisa omosolo elekaka ye lifonja mwana ya koyoma obotisa ngai na lokoso osopela fami na ngai mosolo atinda sheri na ngai bomwana na poto afutela ye na bakelasi mpona tikala ya ye moko na kini mboka ya bilima
lifonja oya Gérard
obotisa ngai na lokoso osopela fami na ngai mosolo atinda sheri na ngai bomwana na poto afutela ye na bakelasi mpona tikala ya ye moko na kini mboka ya bilombe
Luciana Yemba
lifonja mwana ya mama posho
kitoko na ngai ya bomwana
ememisi ngai ngambo lifonja bele bolala mono na kamwe oloposo mwinda mai nombe esi Gérard liboma ya bolingo papa lemisa
nzela ya mino na miso abongi
ekotisi ye boloko ya love lifonja nyatata frère nazali mwana mpe mofude esanga tango nasakana lifonja pardon
kitoko na ngai ya bomwana
ememisi ngai ngambo lifonja bele bolala mono na kamwe loposo ya mwindo ya maindombe esi Gérard liboma ya bolingo papa lemisa
nzela ya mino na miso abongi
ekotisi ye boloko ya love lifonja nyata frère Gérard nanga mwana ya mama poso esanga tango nasakana lifonja pardon lifonja pardon
mbaki malauka e
lifonja pardon nakami motema lifonja pardon
paul muzali ye
lifonja pardon
Nancy Mama Afrika elombe ya mwasi Nairobi Arriba Nyboma Maduma Moro Maurice Kaima Doka Misapi ya Wolo
kitoko na ngai ya bomwana
ememisi ngai ngambo lifonja bele bolala mono na kamwe loposo ya mwindo ya nzeta weke esi Gérard liboma ya bolingo papa lemisa
nzela ya mino
poso ya mwindo ya maindombe epesi Gérard liboma ya bolingo papa lemisa
nzela ya nino na miso apongi ye
ufuti ye ya ta frère papa Gérard nanga mwana mama poso sakana ifonja pardon nasengi pardon nasakana mon cœur
moziki lumière
nasengi
na bena
nasakana mwa moke
Sipi Umande la plume d'or.
Welcome to Africa Speaks. Of today is a special edition of Africa Speaks. I should say that because I've got a very, very interesting young lady here who has a lot to tell us, especially as far as African heritage is concerned. Now, as you're all aware, keeping African heritage alive in the diaspora is not something easy, as most African parents have found out, those who are living in the diaspora. But there are Africans who are doing their best to keep that flag flying. Mark those words. One such African is Miss Ziyah Hamandishe. I think I've got that right. A woman of grace who has such passion for the continent that she uses her African names to prove that point. Marcus was again, her African names to prove the point. Born in United Kingdom, but raised in Zimbabwe, she's driven by her passion that has seen her being named Culture Ambassador for Africa and the Caribbean Arts and Heritage in the diaspora. With so many African artists that need promotion, not just in the UK, but around the world, she has moved heaven and earth to promote the African artists, hence her presence in the studio today. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Steve, for having me. I'm so excited to be on your show today.
Okay, welcome. The key thing anyone want to know, African Heritage, Culture Ambassador, you got these titles. Where do you get them from? And in order to get them, they must have seen the kind of things that you're doing as far as African heritage and Caribbean and all that are concerned. What have you been doing? We need to know this.
Thanks, Steve. That's a great question.
Yeah.
And I would say these titles I take very seriously because culture and heritage is so fundamental for legacy, particularly for Africans whose heritage has been distorted due to colonialism, slavery, and so forth. So when we've got the opportunity to be able to really focus on our heritage so that the next generation have some of that heritage, it's important that we ourselves in the diaspora contribute to those stories. So I'll give you just a little bit of background about myself.
Okay.
I was born in London, and then my parents sent me to Zimbabwe, which was a beautiful experience. And then I came back here to the UK. And so part of my life has been in the UK and part of it has been in Zimbabwe. And I've experienced that enrichment of blended cultures. And I've always been drawn to the African continent, given the fact that I spent some of my earlier years there. So as I was growing up in the UK, I felt slightly sometimes out of place, divorced from my African roots. But my father, who is actually a novelist, he is a novelist of African heritage, telling tales. For example, he would speak about the community and what would happen if the community are not practicing Ubuntu. Ubuntu, that spirit of oneness in the community. And then if the wrongs of that community are not put right, what happens next? So I grew up in a family of storytellers. My cousin also, who is late now, he's Brian Chipoyera. He was working at the ZBC TV and Herald newspaper in Zimbabwe, and he was a journalist, and he used to come to London for his international travels and take me to the legendary Africa Centre. So as a child, I was exposed to live African music and entertainment. The Africa Centre was a music hub. You could see the Bundu Boys playing, and I got an opportunity to see them. And also Kanda Bongo Man. You know, we've got the Kwasa Kwasa and the Sukus. So from my early years, I was always exposed to live music, rhythms, being around artists, being around performers, until I became a performer myself, attending the renowned Brit Performing Arts School, which is in South London, and being able to really focus on music, dance and performing arts. I then took a little bit of progression, and I went to study a BA Honours degree in Media and Cultural Studies and Sociology, cementing my practicalities, my practical life with the social cultural aspects of what I was interested in. It's the passion. It's really, I've been around artists. I've worked with many artists, from Magic System to Kassav, you know, who are a great Creole, Caribbean Creole band.
We've listened to some of it. Now, Rhumba, why particularly Rhumba music? Because there is one thing about that, and then there is the African drums somewhere, and then there is the Zulus, but why particularly Rhumba? Why do you, that's where most of your emphasis is?
Most definitely. I mean, even from performing with Kassav, you know, they obviously play the Creole, but there's the Rhumba influence. So if we look at Africa as a continent, the genre of Congolese Rhumba has influenced not just Congo itself in terms of its culture, but in terms of Africa and its historic history based around the independence. When countries in Africa were gaining their independence or fighting for their liberation, between the 60s right up into the 80s, the independent cha-cha song by Grand Calais was a great song that, although it was unofficially an anthem, an independent anthem, it was chosen by the people as an anthem. We have the Congolese Rhumba has inspired not just Congo and the continent of Africa, from Zimbabwe to Kenya to Tanzania to Uganda, but also if we go right back in history and we look at the slavery, when our ancestors were taken from the Congo and other parts of Africa, they were able to maintain that history in Congo Square in the Americas, whereby jazz took the formation in the north and Rhumba took the formation in the south. So it's had a tremendous global impact, and on the continent of Africa as well.
I've never heard this thing going so details in regards to the connection between the American jazz music and the connection with the Africa. Nobody's ever gone into details, and I think most of our viewers will really want to see that connection, especially the connection with the South Americans. There's a lot of this carnival sort of music that has a lot of connection to Africa, and we haven't really sat down with someone to give us an overview the way you have done it. Now I want us to talk about the artist you're promoting, Kata Nyboma.
Yes.
Yeah. What we've seen him perform, and we're going to listen to his music again. See his music again. How do you come to get to know such characters, such musicians?
Kata Nyboma is a Rhumba legend. He's a Congolese Rhumba legend, and actually an African Rhumba legend. And he has paved the way for many of the Rhumba artists today who are now appreciating the success that he has, the struggles that he has been able to get through in order for the younger generation now to be able to be on the live stages, say for example at Wembley Stadium. So Kata Nyboma represents the legacy from the past, present and future. He has collaborated with so many artists, legendary artists such as the Tabule, such as
Rochelle, they used to call him Rochelle.
Such as Pepe Kalle, the elephant of African music, the giant, the elephant, to Yondo Sister, to the list goes on, Madulu System. He has been able to also form some excellent bands that have contributed to the legacy of Rhumba music. For example, Four Stars, Kekele, you know, the list goes on. His dedication to African heritage through Rhumba goes without saying, and he's going to be performing live at the Jazz Cafe in London on the 23rd of June. So that's for the audiences for Omega TV.
Is that the only place where he's going to perform?
He's also going to be performing at Africa Oye on the 22nd.
Where is
and
that?
That's in Liverpool.
Okay,
that's in Liverpool. So he's going to be gracing the stage at Liverpool on the 22nd, and he's going to be also gracing the iconic venue, the Jazz Cafe London, on the 23rd of June 2024 at 7 p.m. It's really a great opportunity for people in the diaspora to come together and support this Rhumba living legend.
Where's the Jazz Cafe? Because this is where Africans are always said, look, should have gone to Tottenham, you should have gone here, should have done. Where's the Jazz Cafe? I know where it is, but I can't, for somebody listening to us or viewing us for the first time, where's the Jazz Cafe?
That's a great question, Steve. The Jazz Cafe is in the heart of Camden.
Okay.
And if we can connect the dots as well, as I'm trying to do in this short time that we have, the Jazz Cafe has had jazz players and neo-soul singers such as Jill Scott, Amy Winehouse, D'Angelo.
She used to live next door there. She was not very far from there.
And I went to school, went to the same school as Amy Winehouse as well. And so it has really got a rich history and legacy of having great jazz and neo-soul singers. And so what better time to feature Nyboma at the London iconic Jazz Cafe?
How much is it to get in?
We'll get to that point. Because
I don't want to be questioned. So Steve, you have this, and we're feeling, we really want to go, but
we are all excited.
But
because he is the legacy where these music genres derive from, they come from.
Make sure you count my ticket.
The tickets.
Because I don't, you might tell me all about it, and they said there's no ticket for you.
The tickets. We have tickets, and the tickets can be accessed. They can be purchased through the online through the Jazz Cafe London's website. So that's the Jazz Cafe, and you can just put Nyboma, and that will come up. And then buy your tickets. You've got standing tickets, or you've got dining tickets if you want to have a meal there. But it's a great opportunity to come out as an African and really be immersed in that African culture and really show appreciation for somebody who really has dedicated his life to the rhythms of Africa.
I'll ask my producer to put that track on again for the performer, so that we get another clear view of him performing. Okay, I'll ask the producer to do that.
Yes, that's fantastic.
Sí, señores, con ustedes, Nyboma. Alingakanga ibo mwana, amona ndenge na kola, aibanga ijenese, okitoko lutanga yasiza, omosoro lekaka yelifonja. Ya boyoma obotisa ngai na lokoso osopela fami na ngai mosolo atinda sheri na ngai mwana na poto afutela ye na bakelasi ona tikala ya ye moko na kini mboka ya bilima lifonja oya Gerard.
Okay, tell me, what are some of the problems? We've seen he's a very good performer. He knows the language is good and everything is good. But what are some of the problems that, when promoting African music? I think I've met a couple of people who are trying to be promoters, and it's always, it's going to be very difficult to get our people to come in and see the music, or to get the media powerhouses to promote it. And so what are some of the problems that you face when it comes down to this?
I think that's a great question, Steve.
Yeah.
It's when we talk about problems, we're talking about some of the day-to-day things that we have to experience as artists, you know, artist promoters.
Okay.
And some of those things would be publicity as well. For example, African Rhumba is a niche genre, although it's actually influenced the world for years. It has a rich history. If you watch Strictly Come Dancing, you have the salsa, you have the bachata, merengue, it goes on. It really has. It really has had that influence. And so what it is about us Africans, I believe, in the diaspora, also doing our work to support the work that's been done on the continent. So you have, for example, the Institute of African Arts in Kinshasa. They've been championing with obviously the Democratic Republic of Congo and the Republic of Congo. They were the champions behind why this Rhumba music is now it has the glory of UNESCO protection. It's a safeguarded genre, okay? So when we safeguard genres as intangible, it means that it's been recognized that these rhythms, this music, this dance carries a legacy, carries a history that the next generation, it would benefit them to experience. And so us Africans now need to also lead the way when we've had our brothers and sisters on the continent championing that. We need to also ensure that we attend events, we buy tickets. The 23rd of June, 7 o'clock at the iconic London Jazz Cafe. We buy the tickets to support our artists. I think sometimes we work too hard and we might miss out this rare opportunity.
I know, but there is also something about a generation gap, which this is where you come in, as most of the promoters do, is that there is a generation of Africans who have not been raised. You're lucky, you're raised in Africa, and then you came here. But there's that generation which was never raised in Africa and which has grown out from the Western influence. How do you bring this generation into Africa with the African kind of music, with what kind of music that is existing now? There's a lot that has come from Ghana now. There's the teenagers, the 18-year-olds are on beats, and there's this reggae. I mean, you're fighting with reggae, you're fighting with it. There are quite a number of other genres that are coming up that are being fought. How is this battle going to be won to ensure that we keep the genre, the African genre, the one standing, especially past our generation?
Yes, I think that's a great question. I mean, reggae as well, that has UNESCO protection as well, and that it's visible. And so what we need to do is to ensure the visibility, and also that when we get older, as an African, we do not discriminate older people. We have that intergenerational experience and connection. So it's really about the value that we apply to our musicians as well in order to maintain the legacy. And I would just add a point. The younger generation are doing tremendously. They obviously love in the Afro beats.
The Afro beats.
Which is eclectic. It has layers and layers of different genres, but it does also take in the Rhumba and the Congolese music.
Somewhere in the mix there. It's somewhere in the mix.
Most definitely. It's Rhumba and Congolese music is the foundational music. Those are the rhythms. They're foundational. But I would say what is fantastic is, for example, if you listen to double double, we call it double double. You know, I love you double double. That's what the double double is about. It's a love story. This love song by Nyboma is played at Congolese weddings across Africa in Kenya, and it actually appears to be the official wedding song for Africans. And so it does seem that music and culture is transmitted from having airtime, and so people are playing in their weddings, so people know Nyboma because they're marrying. I mean, how many people have Nyboma? Steve, how many people have Nyboma married? You know, they need to turn up at the Jazz Cafe and show their respect and appreciation.
I have to say, I've never seen anybody so passionate about passionate about what they believe in and what they, you know, I just want to encourage you on that.
Thank you so much, Steve.
So keep up the passion, and I do hope that our viewers will have seen that in you as well.
Thank
because
you.
you have that passion, and you really, really wanted to make sure that it is something that is maintained. And I can see why they give you the being culture ambassador and heritage.
Thank you,
Having said that, other than Nyboma now, is there something we should look at in future? Other Congolese artists, other African artists, Zimbabwean artists, South African artists, or
Yes.
something like that coming
Yes.
our way by you or by anyone else?
Most definitely. As you know, I've worked with so many African artists, from Awile Ngomba to bands, Magic System, Kassav, Kanda Bongo Man, the list goes on,
Yeah.
and bands from the UK as well. And so my role now as a African culture ambassador for the Diaspora is to ensure there's a visibility of artists, particularly the legendary artists who've paved the way for us as artists. And so you just watch the space, Steve.
Yeah, okay, even the younger ones. Because the key thing is, if this has to be maintained, there has to be that level whereby there's a continuity. Visibility is good, and it's good when Nyboma is going to be seen, and so on, and that is visibility, and others will soon come in. But then there is that element whereby we are thinking, okay, continuity, the future of the music industry, so the future of the rumba in Africa, because with the poverty around Africa, with this and so on, people could just fade away from the African music and move to other kind of genres or something like that. How can this be ensured that there is that continuity?
That reassurance comes from our people in the diaspora, particularly Africans, the younger generation, the parents. We have a role in order to educate our children. We have a role to educate the people within who have platforms, high-profile platforms, and high-profile platforms like Africa Oye and others have been supporting Rhumba music.
Africa Oye.
Africa Oye in the heart of Liverpool, where Nyboma is going to be performing on June the 22nd. They have been supporting Rhumba artists, and it's really not just about Rhumba artists, it's about African artists, people who have contributed and paved the way. We are now in a privilege of being able to have our own platforms as well. And we're also responsible as to how we use those platforms. And I would say to all promoters out there who have got platforms, please make the lineup intergenerational, because this is the way that heritage is transmitted to the next generation.
Have you ever had the opportunity of going to schools and trying to, this is something that I've just come into my mind, and saying, okay, black schools, for example, or even white schools for that matter, because I've got groups that are going around schools here in the UK, and they're promoting white kids learning how to play drums, playing African instruments and so on. And I even got shocked when I saw Germany, they produced a band that was playing Senegalese music. They don't even know the language, but they were playing Senegalese music in Germany. And I said, wow. Then the French as well. There are a couple of French groups that are now playing African music. And I said, well, we're being taken over. That was my main worry now. No. Yeah. Is there such a thing existing, at least? Is there something like that existing here in the UK?
Yes, I think what you're talking about is diversity.
Diversity.
And what you're talking about is education. We can entertain, but part of entertaining is ensuring that there's education. It's driven also by education. Because within, for example, storytelling, dances, there's also, for example, rites of passage. There are dances of love. There's culture and values that are embedded, that are passed on. And so it's also an opportunity to maintain culture, to maintain identity, but at the same time include that diversity so that people can also learn about other cultures. As you know, Steve, I've been traveling for all these years: Bahrain, Muscat, Oman, Norway, Paris, so many places I've been able to travel to with bands in order to export culture and entertain and educate.
When it comes to, again, I look at it from both the female and male point of view. When you have a female artist and you have male artist, And is there some kind of preference that maybe the audience would prefer a male artist, or the audience would prefer, you know, because some of these people, when they're coming up, they're not famous yet, but the chances are you're more likely to find that maybe it's particular groups, the younger people in the 18 and below, prefer a particular kind of artist, through particular kind of artist. Have you ever come across such, whether somebody is preferable to another person, and yet they are playing the same type of music?
I think we touched on this before, generally when we were speaking. And my understanding really of, you know, the different, you know, whether it's a female or male or people in the music industry, you know, they've had many reports that have come out. We've had a recent music census report looking at the equity, you know, that women are still getting paid less, you know, which
it comes down to money now.
Well, I mean, come on, we all want to live. We all want to be able to have a good quality of life, and that's what it's about at the end of the day.
Yeah, but it's what you bring in. I've seen it in football as well. It's what you bring in. The football, FA Cups here, and other women's football and other games over a period of time. And we were debating about this a couple of months ago, where they were saying the Women's FA, WFA, Women's Football Association, were putting the same prices of tickets, like the tickets for the men. But then they were not having people coming in. I mean, if Manchester City is going to play Manchester United, a women's team, and they put the same prices up, 30 to 40 pounds, they're going to have fewer people coming in. So they had to lower the prices for the women's game in order to attract more people to come in.
Can I just jump in there? Yeah. I mean, I don't really, football is not my sport.
No, I just want it in as an example.
I think it's a great example. I think it's a good example in that, again, it takes us back to publicity and promotion and visibility.
Okay.
In order for events to sell, there have to be visibility through adverts,
of course,
platforms, you know, or people within the music industry have to be responsible for that as well.
Okay.
So if we're talking about the football, it's the same as well. So we can look at ticket prices being one aspect of it, but before that, there's lots of things that go on in the background in terms of adverts on TV, posters, billboards, you know, people speaking about these women who are playing football, you know, and the necessity for women to be included in sports as well. But that's just one.
I brought it as an example in terms of pricing and so on, where I think your name sells you more than you could be a female artist like the late Tina Turner and so on, and you, because the name was already created, and you're earning more money than any of these low men who haven't created their name, you know. So it could be that. So my feeling is that I think it comes to how creative you are and how famous. I mean, Beyonce, she's a billionaire. She's earning a lot of money. You know, put her there and put somebody else there who is a person. Maybe the only equivalent would be Michael Jackson if he was still alive. So I'm saying it could be an issue which comes, as you're saying, with advertisement. It also comes with the performance.
I think it comes with more than that, Steve. I think we tried to touch on this subject before, and it's such a big ask in terms of all the variables. There's always going to be disparities. You know, there's going to always be, and those disparities is why they always have assessments to look at what's working in the music industry and what isn't working, and also starting points. We have to look at starting points as well, and so those variables is really what people in positions of power will be looking at to address that, to ensure there's equality across the board for all.
Okay. Now, this artist, Kanta Nyboma, so sorry, it's quite an interesting character, and we have seen him performing. And other than the two venues that he's going to perform in, is there no way there can be an extension somewhere where you say the summer is quite big, and we say that we need to have him perform at some point on a different venue due to public demand? Because there are people who will be, obviously, if they can't come to the Jazz Cafe because of the date, they wish they could meet him or see him perform somewhere else. Is there possibility of saying, okay, after the Jazz Cafe, he goes to Manchester, but if need be, due to public demand, we're putting a third show on?
Possibly. I think that's a great question, and we're definitely, Nyboma is actually at the moment completing an album, so he's so busy, and that's something that could come up. So I say anyone who wants to work with Tolika artists, please contact me. You know, Nyboma is obviously a great artist. He's a Rhumba legend, and it's something that we can look at. But definitely for next year, Nyboma.
Not for this year.
Possibly. If the right deal comes, then yes, definitely Nyboma will be touring next year, and you just have to watch the space. He's an incredible artist. He represents the past, the present, and the future. And so let's just wait for some collaborations.
And
you're really going to see some great work from Nyboma.
Okay, when it comes to promotion, because this is where most artists go wrong. I'm trying to speak on behalf, by the way, of other artists who are out there and are trying to promote themselves, and they can learn this from you. The issue of promotion, or even now, if someone wants to promote Nyboma, for example, and gets in touch with you, there are African companies here in the UK who would really maybe want to be part of African artists and so on. But then most of these companies wouldn't, unless somebody has gone to them and said, look, I think I could do this. Because when it comes to sponsorship, sometimes it's very, very difficult for artists to make a living, you know, right from their music alone. They have got to have sponsorship. Are you in any way standing somewhere in between and say, this is what we need, let's do this to get the sponsorship? Can you get Nyboma can you ask any of the major companies now, African companies or even Western companies?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think it's not a problem. Sponsorship isn't a problem. It's by demand.
Oh, it's by demand.
It's by demand. And Nyboma is a great artist. And now that he's back visible, he's at the forefront. Definitely our phones have been ringing, and I believe they're going to continue to ring after today's show on Omega TV. He's a great artist. He's contributed. He's a way of music.
If I want to sponsor him, and I'm listening and I'm viewing this program, and I said, wow, I've seen that man perform and I want to do a bit of sponsorship, what do I do?
Contact me, Steve. You know the answer. We've known each other for years, Steve. How many years have we known each other? So you can contact me, Ziyah Hamandishe, artist at tolikaevents.com. So that's artist at...
No, go ahead.
Okay, so if you have any questions, I mean, I want to know a little bit more about what we're doing at Tolika Artists to promote artists. We have an array of artists that we're working with at the moment, and I'll keep that. I mean, Steve is probably going to invite me back on to talk about those, but tonight it's really just about Nyboma. So please contact me. That's Ziyah Hamandishe at artists at tolikaevents.com. That's artists at tolikaevents.com.
You got the message. What are some of the future projects coming up? You have any future projects at all?
Yes.
Other than Nyboma? Is there something else? Is there a Steve Malindra waiting somewhere to be promoted, to be also put on stage somewhere to perform? What's happening?
Well, I've got my hands in different pies, Steve. I also work with Ubuntu, making it possible, whereby we work with artists, professional artists, and we also showcase, for example, indigenous instruments as well, such as the kora. You know, these kind of, we promote this intangible, it's really the intangible culture, you know, and make that visible. So we've got those programs. We've got another project which I will be coming back, hopefully, if you invite me.
Which one is that?
This is a really big project, and we have a celebrity also who is actually sponsoring that actual project, which will take place in summer 2024. So there's so much to talk about, Steve. No, the summer, but we've got the whole of the summer to talk about that.
You don't want to mention it, to talk to to give us a clip on
I
that.
can't. I would love to give you a taster, but I'm here to talk about my dear friend, a great artist, Nyboma. We have some great projects at Toleka and in Ubuntu making it possible that I would love to share with you, and we can arrange for me to come back and I can deliver all the juice that you want, you know, about this.
Okay, now music in its own way. The internet is here, and it has practically taken most of the artists by. I mean, you just go on and you download the music you want, and you're gone away. And the artists are not, those who have written the songs, done this, they don't really get that much. And it's the big boys who are earning, the Sonys and so on. Somewhere on the way, someone viewing us will say, look, I got my music, I need to promote it, I need to do this, I need to do this. Where do they start from?
It's a really
they need that part of the experience.
I think it's an interesting question. I mean, I went to the Brit Performing Arts School, which was renowned for not just the practical side, but the business side of media. And then I went on to university also to study the arts, media and cultural studies and sociology. So I embedded myself, and along the way I met the right people. And I would say as well, and these people might say, oh, why are you saying this? It's important to be ready, ready for the occasion, and always place yourself where anything could happen, you know. So as you know, Steve, I carry my bag everywhere that I go. And you asked me today, why have you got such a big bag? Well, I said, anything can happen.
They can call you in the middle of the night and you're on the next available plane out of the country.
For sure. I mean, you have to be prepared. So it's really being at the right place at the right time, and always being receptive, open to speaking to people who may not look like you, because sometimes there's hidden treasures in people, but they're never going to disclose who they are. And that's one lesson that I learned. Treat people the same, and you'll find that opportunities come. Somebody's just going to say, you know what, I can do that for you, or I know that person, or you want to collaborate with that, I know them, you know. And that's how it's happened for me, as well as hard work and really that passion, doing something that I love and something that I've been called to do.
But it's something connected with us, the Africans, in terms of promotion and in terms of what we want, because there is a mindset that whatever is Western, whatever is American, like now, it's the African musicians have to fight off the American, you know, this R&B in America and so on. So the younger people are looking at that. And then on top of that, the Africans, even in Africa, who are the best, where the music genres are and everything are also looking at the American music. You know, they are looking at the American music rather than the African music. Now, is there a way in which we could say that we try to work with the mindset and say, this is yours, promote yours, make sure that you can have both, but this is where you are? Because now, what I've seen, I've got surprised. South Koreans are doing a lot better in Ugandan music, and I got shocked. They were singing Luganda, they were dancing in Luganda, and I said, no Ugandan is dancing South Korean music. None of Uganda. Japanese are coming in with drums and also learning how to play drums. The Germans are playing Madinda, which is one of the, it's like a piano. It's a Ugandan kind of, you play it Madinda, and then they're playing African drums, and they're coming in. Now, and I'm asking myself, where are the Africans?
You're asking what's happening here.
What's going on?
What's happening here?
Somewhere where I need a bit of enlightenment. Should we are looking at the Americans, but they are looking at us, and they're moving in. You know, there is that general worry of me. Can something happen?
I think that's a really interesting question. Because I think there's two things here. We're talking about the maintenance of identity, which is to do with heritage and legacy. And then we're talking about diversity. They go hand in hand because we live in one world. However, the maintenance of identity is necessary for that culture to go on to the next generation as well. And so I do believe, again, it's like a trade-off.
So in other words, we are not doing very well. Our parents, I should say me as parents, and the next of parents who are coming up, our next generation, are not doing very well to maintain that culture and that identity?
I wouldn't say that, Steve.
Because if someone else is coming in
we're living
and is enjoying.
Yes, I think we're living in a different world now. We're living in a world, there's globalization,
yes, there's
homogenization,
yeah.
there's all sorts of things. We watch the same programs, we wear the same clothes, you know, we're influenced by so many different things. But I do think there is a responsibility on us as Africans, first and foremost, to learn from our history, gold or mirrors. Okay? Gold or mirrors. No, Steve, let's gold or mirrors. So we know our history. So I think, as you said, parents, but beyond parents as well, people individually can read books. Yeah. There's history, you know, so that the history books speak for itself.
Of course.
And I think it's really challenging to say you must appreciate your culture and heritage. But sometimes when something is gone, the history speaks. That's when you start to appreciate that thing that's gone. So I think with the visibility, ensuring that, for example, the older musicians, the legendary musicians, have a place, a place on platforms with the younger generation. So that interconnection is there, so the culture can be transported. It's holistic. As Africans, we are holistic. And sometimes it's a race to the finishing line. We want to experience, you know, good things quickly, but sometimes we have to also maybe possibly realize that we've got it all already.
But another thing is the gospel music has come in as well. There is I mean, I'm a Christian and I love my religion, and I don't really have a problem with that. But then again, when I look at it, could it be also the way that we're in churches as well, African music has to move in as well, instead of we praise the God in the same way, but then we start praising God as well in our native languages, and we try to play the African drums in terms of that. They're doing it in Uganda now and even in Kenya, even with local instruments and so on. But here, the churches I've seen in the UK, if you try and introduce a drum to play drums or something, I think the pastor will make sure you are out of the door in a few minutes. So do we see this again? This is the mindset. It comes back to you people as the culture and other things are brought in. Is there a way you can go in there and say, hey, hang on a minute, this is our identity, regardless of what?
I don't represent churches myself.
No, of course not.
But Steve,
I'm just saying to
it's a great question, but I don't represent. I'm sorry, I don't.
Make it a point to go in there and be part of the congregation, and then you say, by the way, have you heard of Nyboma performing?
So on that note, Steve, we're going to say the 23rd of June, 7 p.m. at the iconic Jazz Cafe, London. For everybody, you know, Nyboma has contributed to the global music of Rhumba music, and it's a great time for everybody to be celebrating his music.
No. When it comes to the churches, you don't want to be part of. You're fearing the pastors are going to kick you out. Is that
no.
Yeah.
I'm not fearing anything.
Yeah.
However, the church is not my responsibility in terms of how the church goes about talking or you know, bringing people into the church.
No, the reason why I mentioned
but I understand what you're saying. It would be great to hear African talking drums in church.
Yeah, I know, because I've been saying this and preaching over this and say, look, if we've got to keep the identities, and so on, it starts with you. And that is why I have a drum in my house. That is why I have a couple of instruments that I have at home. Although I don't play these instruments, but I have them in my house. So if my daughter asks me, I said, this is an African drum, this is this, so that at the end of the day, if someone comes and teaches me how to play them, I'll play them. I don't have any problem with that. And that's why I say, look, our mindset has to come in where we are. And when I see huge congregations in churches, especially in Nigeria, Ghana, even Zimbabwe, watched a massive over 1,000 people in a church. That is an area where someone can come and say, hey, let's talk about ideology. Let's come and talk about what we have as Africans. We still believe in God. We still believe in Jesus Christ and everything. But then at the end of the day, our identity can be seen in the way we dress up, the way we treat others, the way we walk, the way we, the language, all those things, as you say, they go hand in hand, and music is part of that.
And I do agree with, I kind of like, I'm following you, Steve, but I do believe it's such a bigger topic for, and really a topic that needs more time to actually look at, because obviously we know that Christianity is associated with colonialism, because Christianity wasn't there before in Africa, from my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong, and I can be corrected if I'm wrong. I'm happy to be corrected. Well. However, so there's a deeper possible need to look at history, and if you're going to say decolonizing minds, this is for another. This is people can pick up Ngugi Wa Thiong'o's book Decolonizing Minds. I think that's what it's called, and have a read of that. But I think it's such a big conversation, because people do get something out of Christianity. If they didn't get something out of Christianity, they wouldn't be there in church. Exactly, so we can look at it from different perspectives. Obviously, musically, the gospel music as well, jazz music, it still comes from the foundational African rhythms. You know, so how people connect with the source, with whether you want to call that God or you know whatever, people are wanting to connect with something. Of course. You know, so there's a conversation with what people think they're connecting to, and actually are they getting results? You know, are they getting results from that connection as well? And regardless of what practices we have, because we all want to be successful in life, we want good well-being, and whatever practice whatever practices we're doing, we want it to be working.
One may ask why I bring that in the music arena as we're in. It's a different arena. Maybe that's a topic for another day. But the thing is that, as you said at the beginning of the program, most of this is interrelated. And it's something that I've discovered over suddenly. We are talking about heritage, we talk about culture, we talk about music, we talk about everything that connects us. But suddenly, when we go into music, so when we go into religion, then it becomes, hang on a minute, where is he going with that? Because I've tried this in various conversations, and I've discovered there is always, it's like somebody's putting a wall there, and I said it's part of it. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because you're a social worker, you did sociology, and this is all part of it. How can Africa begins to address itself to this issue?
Well, you know what's interesting is you're not saying the actual question. So if you to begin to address the colonization, what needs to be addressed? So because I think the question is
connection of religion and African traditional music.
So I think then what would be embedded in that also would be spirituality, African spirituality, because the essence of African music through the drums, through percussion, you know, is from African spirituality, which was outlawed, you know, during that time, because it gave our ancestors a sense of freedom, and they were able to use the spirituality to connect with a higher source. So why it might be demarcated, because there's a deeper issues here in terms of how people connect with source. Source could be God, source could be Allah, how they connect with that, and what people choose to be true and what people choose to be true in their hearts and minds. Because even if you do say that Christianity didn't exist, and there's evidence to say that, if somebody said it did exist, then it did exist. So at the end of the day, perceptions, there's more than one way to eat a pie, you know, and as long as people are getting the results that they require, they need, then who is it an issue for? However, I would say if people are not getting the results, which is maybe a question for another show, then that is a very fundamental issue. If people are still in poverty, then what's happening there? If people are still in, if it's supposed to, in a sense, elevate, you know, and strengthen one's mindset, you know, then what's actually going on? So I think it's a deeper question. For today's show's an entertainment show. I'm here for entertainment.
I know. I just want to find out again, lastly, the support from the Africans, both at home and abroad, is a major issue with, again, I've seen with the artist. They support at home, then suddenly they come over here and they find it difficult to get support from the Africans in the diaspora. That kind of issue has, and its impact, is it again ideology or something like that, whereby you're saying we've seen somebody doing so well at home, but when he comes here, and we are from the same country, we are from the same, we speak the same language and so on. We don't see that with the Indians, where somebody is performing in India, he comes here, all the Indians are going to turn up. You even see when Indian team is coming here to play cricket with the English, there are so many English passport holders who are born here, who are English, Indian English, who are supporting India. There is that element of that. I mean, he's going to come, and there is that element that I won't be surprised if more white people turn up at the Jazz Cafe to see him perform than the Africans. Something of that nature has to be addressed. How can we address that?
I think, Steve, people will come. People will come and support Nyboma because he's a legendary artist, and that goes without saying. And whoever your supporters are in life are your supporters. One thing I would say is this.
No, I'll give him as an example.
Yes.
Someone else has come from Africa.
Yes.
He's come here and he's due to perform here. Bobby Wine, for example, or any of these other performers in Africa who are famous in Africa. They've come here and we're here. They're our people. But then again, when it comes to support, sometimes we don't. How do we get these people to say, hang on a minute, these are ours? Is it a mindset?
I think what you're talking about again is visibility, promotion. Because again, if you've got cultural heritage, even if it's on, it's been included in the UNESCO's heritage of intangible. Of the intangible culture, then at the end of the day, that doesn't mean anything if we're not supporting as Africans.
This is the point.
So for me,
that's the point,
so in terms of what you're saying, there is a need for us to partake in our own legacy.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly,
and that is where we are as a people. We can't compare to other cultural groups because their history is completely different.
Well,
the history, no other history has experienced slavery the way that we did 400 years. So sometimes we're playing catch up, but we have to have positivity. We will catch up. The younger generation have now, taken their own spin on African music, calling it Afrobeats. We obviously know
the Afrobeats.
We obviously know that the Afrobeats, came from the Afrobeat, which was the Fela Kuti and so forth, and then they've taken that name, and it's what works for them. It's working. They're happy. They're enjoying the African rhythms, and so it's really across the board to get that intergenerational experience going as well, getting people of all ages out of the house, because the young people are coming out and they're attending events, but the older generation, there's something for you. Life is just it's a continuity. And so it's an opportunity to get out of your house and support a great legendary artist. There's more work to be done on the ground, Steve. There's more work to be done on the ground.
My only fear is it to be taken over by, say, for example, and then we are supporting it. Yes, it's part of ours, the Afrobeats, but they're coming in slowly, enjoying it more, and obviously making it much of a business, a massive business projects that they're earning more money out of it. And this is where we look at and say, okay, we started it, we're doing it, but the money is not coming into us.
Steve, this is fantastic. There are rich billionaires. There's rich African billionaires, okay? You know what to do. So at the end of the day, we can keep on saying we're not in a position.
As long as they
but we aren't. We obviously our history that would shape our focus. Okay, the history shapes the future. In storytelling, they always show that in in African tales. The past will shape the future in terms of the focus, where our focus is. But there's many well-to-do, business people out there who can come and sponsor African music and entertainment if they're interested in the maintenance of their heritage and ensuring that it's transmitted to the next generation. I would also say that you've got some interesting points, Steve. At every single point, you know, in history. It's like we're having to start again.
Yeah.
You know, as if we never ever contributed anything.
Yeah,
I clearly understand what you're saying. However, I think it's a different time for us now. The younger generation are on board. And I think particularly for us who understand the history and the legacy that needs to be maintained, we need to do more work. Hence why I'm in this business right now.
I can see
okay,
that,
right? and there's other people.
God, you have the passion.
Yes, there's other people on other platforms that are there and are dedicating themselves to that, to pushing forward African heritage. We're not saying because it's Zimbabwean. We're not saying because it's Congolese. We're not saying because it's Ghanaian. We're not saying because it's Nigerian. It's Africa is Africa.
I know.
You know, even with the African Rhumba, I wanted to say to you earlier on, it's even influenced the Sungura rhythms, which is our Sungura is like eating sadza. It's like our music, you know. But the rhythms of that music is in Congolese and East African music as well. Yeah. And so even we share a rich history. You have Sam Mangwana. His father was of Zimbabwean. His father was Zimbabwean and his mother was a Congolese. You know, you also had with the another Congolese group, the jazz player was Zimbabwean.
Who's that?
K Jazz. I can't remember right now. But the jazz player was called is it Isaac? It was Isaac, and he went to Congo, and nobody would know that he wasn't Congo. He was Zimbabwean.
Yeah. Oh really? Okay. Okay. Yeah. I think I know the person you mean, but I think I know the name has gone out of my head, but I know the person you mean. But he was. He claimed he was Congolese. He didn't.
People can claim what. Let's talk about Lucky Dube, because there's an argument between the Southern Africans,
he was African,
the Zimbabweans and South Africans as to whether he's half Zimbabwean, half South African. Does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
But the point is, does it matter?
No, it doesn't. Bob Marley went to Zimbabwe and he was saying, "Look, you guys, I believe I'm Zimbabwean." And I said,
then he's Zimbabwean.
When he did that,
the late Bob Marley.
Yeah. When he did that song, he said, "Look, I think I'm Zimbabwean." I said, "Well, hang on a minute, you're Zimbabwean." So at the end of the day, I mean, you can call yourself who you want to. You know?
Yes.
Yeah. So wherever he came from, he was an African anyway. So we have to take that into account. That's all. Yes. That's what matters. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what matters. Now, I want to end on a note. Obviously, you have mentioned the future projects that you have in mind. You've mentioned the various issues that are very, very good as far as the music industry is concerned and as far as promotion is concerned. And for this particular gentleman who is going to perform at the Jazz Cafe.
Superstar.
Yeah, I know. A superstar, I should say, at the Jazz Cafe. If there are going to be any extras, for example, and somebody else has got to see other than the website and somewhere, are there tickets sold in other places, for example?
Yes, just go on the just type Nyboma on the Google.
We Africans are so used to taking our cash and you just walk into a
come
shop
and give me the cash. Come and bring me the cash.
We're used to say, oh, he's gone in Seven Sisters, there's such and such a place, and the tickets are available there at the door or something like that.
Most definitely. When I do my venues, then that's a different experience. But it's at the Jazz Cafe in London. At the
entrance. Can they buy
yes,
tickets
they
at
can.
the door?
They can still, for our Africans, they can still buy tickets at the door, or they can go online and support legendary Nyboma. Who's coming to London on the 23rd of June.
You could give some of the tickets to me, and that's
you can if you wanted, Stevie. You're too busy. When did you get out the time? Come on, Stevie. You're never even on the phone. I can't get hold of you.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
You could do me a disservice.
Where tickets are to be sold and there's money to be earned, and you're telling me I'm busy? You're joking. I need the money. I need the money. Could you repeat that for our viewers again? The Jazz Cafe, the date of the Jazz Cafe.
So legendary Nyboma at the London iconic Jazz Cafe on the 23rd of June 2024 at 7 p.m. Africans, brothers and sisters in the UK, please come and support this legendary artist. It's a rare appearance and it's an opportunity for you to experience the ambience of Congo.
Yeah. Ambit of Congo. I'm going to ask the producer if we could play that last beat of it before we go, because that would be another very good one for anybody who probably came in before when the program was in the middle of the program and never saw that last beat of it, and then we could. Which date again? Can you give us the date again for?
Yes, for my beautiful viewers out there, African and my British viewers as well. Kanta Nyboma is going to be at the legendary Jazz Cafe on the 23rd of June 2024 at 7 p.m. Put your foot on the accelerator and get yourselves down to the Jazz Cafe on the 23rd of June.
Yeah, 23rd of June 2024. The Jazz Cafe.
The 23rd of June.
The 23rd of June, the Jazz Cafe. Yeah, and you can get the tickets at the door.
Yes.
Yeah, you can get the tickets at the door.
Most definitely.
Yeah, okay, that would be good. It's been a pleasure listening to you talk about African music and so on, and I just wish people out there know how passionate you are as far as this is concerned. And I do believe that it would be very successful, and I wish we had people like you to continue with the heritage of the African heritage. You know, even into me, I'm being encouraged now to be more passionate with the African heritage. You know, because it's people like you that have kept the heritage running and the African heritage, running. And I just have to thank you so much for that. You know, and I want to thank you very much for coming. Tell us all about it, and I do wish that we'll be together again next time at some point.
Thank you, Steve.
And we'll talk about this, and maybe you come back next time and let us know how successful it was, and what is going to be next, and to that.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure.
Right. I just want to say thank you very, very much for being with us in today's Africa Speaks, special Africa Speaks, and I do hope we'll be together again for another edition of Africa Speaks. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
Papa obosana bolamu nyonso nasalela yo koko Nyboma motema sanduku ebomba nde makambo ebele mwana yo ngana yo kotongo na kofinga kanga eleke okende koboma boma ngepa ya bato okolukali wananga mpona ninye tobotama moto na moto netwale na ye boni bokomi koluka koteka moto na ngai boni bokomi koluka kosakana na kombo na ngai Christian Banku ika Fidel Pongwa sala na ye banzambe nyonso bosisa kosambela Bible na maboko pe lokuta na monoko botika te mwana yo